everybody, just wanted to get back on here and basically reinvigorate this channel. I have some ideas of things that I'd like to share that I just think are not being put out there in the Highland Games community. Love to answer some questions, so feel free to comment below on this particular video or things you'd like me to expand on or other topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes of this. I'm planning to do this at least once a week through the end of the season, which for me is the next couple months or so. And also you can email me. empoweredstrength@gmail.com is the easiest place to email some questions there, since I'm not on my regular social media, at least for the time being, on Facebook or Instagram, any of that stuff. So this is going to be primarily or the area where I'm going to deliver information, besides potentially taking on a few private clients along the way. You can email me there if you have questions or would like to work with me one-on-one potentially as well. So just thinking through some hammer things that I'm working on. And this could kind of go two different ways, whether you're somebody who is not currently using blades that would like to potentially add blades to your arsenal and understand when and how to add that. I'm going to answer that part, and then also go backwards in the sense that I'm preparing, and my wife Kelly are preparing for the Enumclaw Highland Games, which is off of these lovely plywood turf based trigs, so there's no blades allowed. And there's a fair number of games in the Northwest and I think throughout the country that are like that as well, and some indoor games, things like that, that may have hammer as an option. So I want to show you basically where I start and end, and give you some ideas that will sharpen up your hammer skills again, reinvigorate, or again bring you into a place where you're ready to go into blades potentially. And with that part too, obviously if you add blades, there's some other videos I've done in the past. If you're planning to add blades, you'll know almost right away if your distances start to go up, you're using them well. Or I would add in, the right foot first type of thing, where you just dig in. If you're right-handed, you're going to dig in the right foot, and you're just going to go through your winds essentially the same way. And again, even reverse engineering this here, as we're going to get to in a second. So I'm working on that same kind of thing. My distances should start going up. I shouldn't be falling all over the place if I'm working the ground, as I'm going to show you here in a second. That's an obvious indicator of potentially being ready. There are some sort of distances of what's a good mark. It used to be around 100 feet for the light hammer, for example, and somewhere probably 80 plus feet. When I first added blades, I took some time in the off season to add them, and my numbers, when I was really just bursting, ready to progress into blades, I think, and maybe a little bit skewed in that sense, but I added almost 20 feet to my both hammers, especially my light hammer. I believe it was just about 20 feet back in the days, around 2008, 2009 when I added blades, but I had been throwing without blades for a long time. So that's kind of part one. And part two here, or either way, to remind ourselves that our body, we need to move our feet really well. When we're throwing hammer, we're going up and down, toe, heel. But even more importantly, I've found, is this lateral motion. And a lot of people will do these walking winds, and they'll look very robotic, or they'll walk to the side. All that stuff potentially has some value, maybe just as a warm-up. Or what I think is probably the missing link here with the hammer is actually doing these walking winds where I'm stepping, and I like to simplify it and just step off of one leg, step as I'm turning. So I can even start doing this without my blades on. And what I'm doing here, the point I want to take home, want you guys to take home, is that I'm really allowing, when I'm pushing across my body, for example, when we do this simple drill, this could be a starting point for somebody who's not familiar with this drill, just partly to wake up the feet and remind yourself or show yourself that this has a ton of value to being able to just push. So look what I did here. Again, so easy to just take off and do this. I'm not holding on to this. I'm not pushing this with my arms at all. I'm just using foot work here, pushing off laterally, which is always good to work the lateral part of our legs, hips, all that stuff. Anyway, so push. This thing wants to take off. So there's a ton of value to that. So basically, when I'm countering the whole time, when the ball of the hammer's coming through that low point here, I'm pushing off, going the other way, high point, low point, high point, low point with the hip. Especially as I'm coming around to the right side here, I'm starting to reach over and drive through across this right side. and develop a ton of power from that lateral shift. A lot of people think it's somehow driving, using some kind of magic leg power and lots of arms into it. We don't want to do it. We want to use the hip drive, laterally pushing side to side. So for example, this is what it looks like with the full hammer. I usually start just out to the side. This is really helping me go side to side, so I'm not going to try to go over my right shoulder or left shoulder as much here, and I will do this on both sides potentially. So I want to straighten my arms right here in the low point, push, 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 push. I'm really letting my arms be hooks. I can be a little lazy over the top with this, unless I get this thing really moving fast, which I like to work up to about 10 winds and just think all legs, push, push, push. If that's too much for you, you could start this with Indian clubs. Simplest way to start this would just be pushing side to side, like sweeping the ground with this push, push, push. Those things just want to take off. I'm not doing anything with my arms. Again, for example, I'll start with dead weight, boom, boom, kind of this figure skater type of drill. And then I will work into, this is actually a Spud shop. I picked this thing up from Spud Inc. They make a lot of cool stuff. And this was a find at the Arnold here a year and a half ago when I was there. This thing just looked cool. I decided to put it to use. Showing a little signs of wear and kind of choking this up. I just have a couple plates on here. Well, 4 plates on here actually. So this thing just over 15 pounds. This will add another element of being over the top and staying connected with this thing kind of kinks as I come across. If I jerk the thing into motion, it gives me even more feedback, or like we like to say, kind of self-limiting in its way of teaching. So again, coming across, whoops, there we go, push, 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 and I could use this thing the other way too, on the left side, push, 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 push. And again, I'll usually start with the lighter weight implement, especially doing a lot of winds, but I could go up. This is a cool, basically a PVC handle mixed with the chain that's put on the end there by a gentleman named Brett McDonald in Alaska. Give him credit for making this thing for me a few years ago. And this is not something you can find online, and I don't know if Brett's making those anymore. You can find that Spud Inc. strap. It's a great tool to use. Also, we'll talk about in future episodes, ways you can use this to help sync up with the finish. So again, this is all about waking up the feet, moving the feet, again, side to side, and a little bit of the up and down motion, toe heel. You can cover that another time as well. So again, across my body, this is almost 22 pounds here. So if I can do this well with this implement, I'm ready to throw this thing pretty far. And again, this is helping me get ready for Highland Games off of platforms there, but also allows me to wake up. So that's kind of the last little bit here. Wake up my feet as a warm-up, or maybe I'm just kind of in a rut with my season and I'm feeling like I'm really just cranking that hammer with my arms, or things are stiffening up. Reinvigorate the body a little bit, take a few sessions at least, and throw this thing without blades. Or again, if you're already kind of considering whether you're ready to add blades, start doing this kind of stuff. And again, almost regardless, you cannot go wrong doing this drill like I just did here as part of like a circuit of my training. I call these Highland hybrid workouts. So it's like a carry, maybe a kettlebell snatch, and then it'll be something like a hammer wind, something I can get some reps in. I could be outside. I have, maybe the benefit of having this kind of space out here where I can have indoor, outdoor throwing and lifting areas. So that may not work as well for you, but you can always take a kettlebell, you can take a med ball, sandbag, things like that out to your field. So hope that helps. Again, guys, feel free to email me, empoweredstrength@gmail.com, if you'd like me to answer some other questions, have ideas along the way. I'd love to hear from you guys. And comment below. I'd like to make this page very interactive and kind of step away from the typical social media platforms, dig deeper into the events, share some things that are just not being said or done, the way I would like to see them done, or the way I believe they're done best within the game. So I'd like to hear from you guys. Thanks.